Hey, so the last couple of weeks has been a fairly large perspective shift for me in the grand scheme of things. And so I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about, not for me personally, but just the perspective shifts in general, because this is something that you can fall back on to, I guess, take some of the intensity off whatever you're experiencing. Which is just reminding yourself that your perspective is constantly shifting as you live your life. This isn't something, I think if somebody doesn't say this to you, maybe you never even really think of it this way, but it's also easy to forget, even if you have thought of it this way, that something, the way things seem to you right now is not the way they will seem in 5 days, 5 months, 5 years. And the constant in this experience is change, and you change with it, whether you realize it or not. Some people change more rapidly or more easily than others, but everybody changes. You're not the same when you're 60 as you were when you're 6. It's just an ongoing process of things changing. And I think for a lot of people, for me, that was very comforting. It's very comforting when you think of that from a place where you're feeling bad. If you're in a bad place right now, your perspective on everything that is causing you to read this meaning, this bad meaning into whatever you're experiencing, that will change over time. Maybe rapidly, maybe not, but the point is you're not going to be where you are right now forever. Now, it's very comforting to me to hear that during moments of my life especially where I was worried about the future, where I was worried about what the choices I was making presently were going, what kind of impact those were going to have on my future, specifically when I was in my mid-30s and I decided for sure, I was like, I'm not having kids, which wasn't a difficult decision for me because I didn't really want kids. But the implications of that were very scary to me for a few years as I was making that decision, especially. Once the decision was made, then it was different. And I had this perspective shift, then it was different. I called my mom. I was talking to her about this at one point. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember her telling me that. She said, well, you're not going to feel that way about it when you're 65 or something, whatever I had said. You're going to, your perspective changes. Simple as that. And I realized, I'm thinking of this from my current self. I'm imagining a future 30 years away, which is just an absurd amount of time. I'm imagining a future 30 years away with my current 35-year-old perspective, experiencing it. So it was, I was thinking that my 35-year-old brain was going to be in my 65-year-old body. It's not, obviously it's not like that. Just like your 15-year-old self would have been scared shitless to think about handling your life at 35 or 25 or whatever age you are now. Your earlier self would have been really scared, maybe, or have a different, or had a different perspective on what it would be like than what it actually is. So this is a thought that you can fall back on, that your perspective will change, essentially boiling down to you're going to be able to handle your present in the present moment, always, always. And not only that, if you look back on things that were very important to you when you were, let's say you're 25 now. If you look back on something that was very important to you when you were 12, you can probably come up with a laundry list of things that were very important to you when you were 12, or that you were very afraid of when you were 12, that now seem absurd. It's the same thing. It's the same thing throughout your life. The things that you're afraid of right now, and especially if you're feeling despair about anything that's in your current reality. If you're in this manifestation community, absorbing content, it is almost definitely to try to relieve some kind of anxiety. That's what I've noticed. That's why people are here, because they're having a problem and they want to fix it. There are it seems, I shouldn't say there are very few. It seems it's very skewed towards people trying to solve problems than it is towards people who are just genuinely interested in exploration, which is fine. Whatever brings you here, and it's good that you're here, I think. it's good that you're opening up to the ideas that you have some influence over what's happening to you. It's not just some random, you know, shit show. What this is all about, at the heart of it, is emotional control. Not sure that's the right way to put it. It's about being able to change your emotions, not control them. It's not about saying, I feel this and I'm not going to feel it. It's about transmuting whatever you're feeling into something else that can create on your behalf for you. That's really the skill that's at the heart of all of this. It's not visualization. You know, faith is a big part of it, but faith is something that I think comes naturally from a decrease in fear. And so a lot of, if not all, bad emotions are created by fear. This is one of those things that you can use at opportune moments to decrease your fear and to transmute your emotions. I'm going to start using that word because it's really, it is about emotional, it's about having control over the vehicle that you're driving. But it's really not about faking emotions. It's not about ignoring emotions. It's about insight and change at just the right moment. That's where the magic really is with all of this, and that's where the skill is, and that's where if you can get the tools and start to really diligently apply them, that you will become a master of yourself. And so this is one of those things, and that to me comes in the form of just thoughts that change how you're feeling, right? The right thought will change how you're feeling, because the way you're feeling, especially, you know, or always, but I mean, for the purpose of this video, in a bad moment, the way you're feeling is based on a bunch of thoughts and beliefs. So you can't just throw any belief in there. It's got to be, any belief to relieve yourself. It's got to be one that actually works for you. And so some understanding of what I'm saying, not necessarily saying to yourself, my perspective will change. If that doesn't do it for you, it's just understanding the changing nature of everything, and that you were built essentially at your core, you were built to experience this. You're equipped for this. It's fear in the mind that makes everything in the moment hellacious. You were made to change and adapt. And so anything that any part of your current despair that is based on fearful, sad thoughts about the future, things like that, having this little tool, reminding yourself that that is an illusion. Your emotions really are an illusion. Everything is an illusion. But being able to remind yourself of that in the moment, that's something that will bring the intensity down of any of those. It'll take you from being in a frenzy to being maybe in a peaceful state of feeling like shit. It's better to be in a peaceful state of feeling like shit than it is to be in a frenzy where you might take some actions or do something, or I don't know. These little tools to douse a little part of the fire of these bad feelings that come up, especially in relation to your future or whatever it is that you want, whatever the problem is you're trying to solve. This is a key part of this. It's not laying in bed imagining something at night and then waking up and doing everything the same the next day. And nobody ever said it was. That is an invention of this modern day social media manifestation community. It's all very simple. However, it's a lot deeper, and it's more difficult for a lot of people about a lot of things than is commonly admitted to. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, because what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, and I've already done a lot of work. I did a lot of work before I ever even really started doing all of the important work 3 or 4 years ago. I'm in a good place for this, so I don't know that this just works for everybody. But what's been bringing me back every time over the last couple of weeks is reminding myself that this is not real, reminding myself that this is the illusion. And, you know, I'm not unaware of that this is easier for me from where I'm coming from. I've built a lot of support in the 3D world and in terms of finances and relationships and things like that. That's why I don't know that that will just work for everybody. For me personally, where I'm trying to go, every negative emotion, except for one, every negative emotion over the last couple of weeks has been able to be diffused with reminding myself that this is an illusion and that anything I'm feeling bad about, you know, what appears to be this event happened and now I'm having an emotional reaction to that, that's the illusion. Reminding myself that that was actually just me giving power, giving the energy that I have, whatever I am and whatever this is, giving the energy that I have to an external thing, which will then perpetuate it. So just those two things, basically. This isn't real. You're forgetting that this isn't real. And you're buying into the illusion of whatever just happened. Whatever the 3D illusion is that just happened. All that's happening is you're empowering something. That's been enough for me. And then take it back, and then take it back. Just even thinking about it, I get that tension release. It's like that tension in here is what I'm feeling, and then the release of that, which is just like a big sigh, happens just automatically, of stopping that process, like stopping that energy flow out and getting that energy back in. That's what I've been doing, and it's been working beautifully. I will tell you this though. Last night I had a little moment where that didn't work. I had to come back to 3D. You know, everything I talk about in this channel with changing your beliefs and all that stuff, basically everything on this channel, other than like the first maybe month that I was making the channel, and now the last 2 weeks, everything else has been focused on manifesting in the 3D world, more or less. I mean, it's been about changing yourself so that you can produce a different outer reality. And it's been focused on the 3D self and all that other stuff. Everything outside of your mind, which is not your brain, is the 3D. So that's been the topic of this channel, and I think that's probably what's most useful to people. I'm not sure that my outer space perspective over the last couple of weeks is really helping anybody. If that's who even cares. But I did have a moment yesterday where for the first time I had to come back because I couldn't do it, you know, just reminding myself this isn't real, none of this is real, blah, blah, you know, that didn't work. I kept feeling bad. And that was, this is related to my central theme, of course, which is food, weight, my appearance, all of that stuff. And so I said I've been microdosing, which I've been doing an every other day microdosing schedule. And I've been fasting on the days that I'm microdosing, or this is the plan anyway. I've been fasting on the days I'm microdosing, and then microdosing gives me munchies, and then I eat later after I've done the microdose. And then the next day I've been kind of just like, I've been trying to do 24-hour fasts around the microdose. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna do this fasting regimen with the microdosing, and then I'm gonna do that 3 days a week, so 6 days, a fast day, and then, you know, a microdose day where I then eat after microdosing and then eat normally or whatever. And then I'm gonna have one day where I just try to approach food from a different perspective, because I'm trying to, like, it's like learning to walk or something, you know. I've had so many judgments and so many like beating myself up for things, so many rules about eating and food and all of that. My whole life, there's just so many of them. And so my focus was, I'm doing this microdosing thing, and then one day a week, I'm just gonna, my focus is gonna be, I'm just eating like a normal person without any rules or judgments. Because I found that I was kind of doing this before I was microdosing. I was just, every time a rule or a judgment came up, I was applying this isn't real thing to it, to try to sort of uncover, who am I really in relation to this area of my life? It's been so bogged down by all of these thoughts and judgments forever. And so yesterday, that's where I've really been having to deal with things, is because that is so deeply ingrained, that, and you know, the feeling of like failure, they're just, if I eat anything, I just, whatever, I can't, it's, yesterday Matt and I went out to a restaurant, and I was like, this is so nice. I can't remember, you know, I was like, wow, this feels like a totally different experience. Like, I feel like it's okay for me to be here doing this, first of all, in a way that, you know, it's not like I don't want to overblow my experience of life prior to this, because I'm really getting into the inner workings of it. It's not like, you know, I wasn't like, you know, the guy in Boardwalk Empire coming home with like a leather whip and like whipping myself on the back after going out to eat or anything like that. But it's just, this is it's a brand new experience to feel totally judgment free about something having to do with a behavior that I previously deemed to just be completely unacceptable or completely counterproductive or whatever it was. I realize this is probably making no sense at this point. But anyway, we went out to this restaurant, and I enjoyed the food that I ate. And I noticed there's this, I found myself having moments of saying like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. And I just stopped briefly and just said, no, not doing that anymore. And then later that night, I found myself laying there just feeling like kind of shitty. And I realized it was because it was that part of me that basically what I came to understand. And this is thanks to having some small introduction to, I think it's called internal family systems therapy, where you essentially look at the reactions you're having to things as coming from different parts of you. Like you have different versions of yourself or different people that come forward at different times. So, basic, whatever, you can go investigate that if you want to know more about that. I'm not familiar enough with it to tell you anything about it. But what I realized was that there was a part of me, the person that had just been out at dinner enjoying this meal, was now feeling horrible. And I realized this isn't me. It's not the overall me. There's a part of me that's feeling really bad right now, because there's a part of me that's sitting here in the present saying, why am I feeling this way? Like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. The person that had just been at dinner, the version of me that was at dinner, that had eaten that dinner and enjoyed it, was now feeling horrible. Like they had done something wrong to screw over the rest of the parts of me. And I had to sit there and look at it like it was a different person and say, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You went and you enjoyed a dinner. That was our intention. You didn't do anything wrong. I had to like look at this like it was not, I couldn't say it to myself. I wasn't like, hey, me. It was like talking to something else that was separate from the speaker and comforting this other version of me that was the thing that was feeling bad. It's very weird to separate these two things. And I just said to that version of myself, you know, I just reasoned with it and said, hey, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad. You're feeling awful right now. It's okay. This is what we're trying to relearn how to do. We're trying to relearn how to just be normal, how to enjoy this, how to not have a bunch of judgments on it. You know, and it's like this part of me was just like, so, felt like such a failure and felt like it was the one ruining everything. And it was crazy. And it wasn't like it was even the conscious part of me that was thinking about it. That's the really weird part about it. And that's the one time that I've had to come back to 3D. And then as soon as that was over, I'm like, yeah, you know, none of this is real. You know, internal family system therapy, all the versions of myself I just experienced, that is all part of this illusion. That's part of this, whatever experience this is that I created for myself. And none of this is real. And just like that, back up there again, back in that state. And for me, I know exactly where I'm trying to be. It's just a certain mental space that is very peaceful, very positive. And so, you know, that's the difference, I think, between just shoving an emotion aside. I could have just ignored it and said, oh no, this is, you know, that I don't think is what, I don't think that's what anybody should be trying to do. I don't think that's what anybody is saying. I don't think that's what any grandmaster teachers or anybody else has ever said to do. If there's something persistent there, then that's been the one thing I've had to do, because I think that's really the only time that I've, yeah, I think that's the only time I've gone to dinner in the last couple of weeks. That was the first time going out to a restaurant since starting all of this stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope there was something in there for someone, and I hope that my experience, hearing about my experience, did something for someone. And I'm going to leave it there. Have a great day.